Actually, these two people introduced a concept called class. They introduced a concept called class, and where object related all the properties and methods are kept at one place, right? And these two people introduced a concept called object oriented programming. OOP was introduced in 1967 actually. In 1967, object-oriented programming was introduced by these two people, but object was not introduced by these two people. Object was designed by LNK. He introduced the concept of object, and these two people introduced the concept of reusing object. So object-oriented programming started. And what is that object-oriented programming? Later we will see. But before object-oriented programming, we have object. The concept of object was there before OOP concept. That's the reason many times when people don't know about all this, when we talk about OOP and when we talk about object, then they directly relate it with OOP concepts. But actually object is there and available before OOP was there. So that is the reason we need to know the basic point about what is technically object. That means object is not just related to object-oriented programming. Actually, the purpose of object is to store data and logic. Data is kept in properties and logic is defined in functions. And how object is created in Typescript. So we have to create an object in Typescript. So by using Typescript provides an object type to create and configure object. Typescript provides an object type to create and configure object. That means how we can create and configure an object. Let's see. I will create another folder here. So I will say object type. Okay. And in that, just demo.ts. Okay. How we can create an object. So how we can create an object. So to create an object, let and any name. For example, name is product. Product is an object. And how to define an object type? Colon, we have an object data type. And how to initialize memory for this object and how to store data in an object. Actually, the memory for object type can be initialized by using a floor brace. This is how we define an object. The memory must be initialized just like array. You declared an array and array related memory need to be initialized. Otherwise, you cannot store anything inside an array. Similarly, object related memory is initialized by using floor brace. That means what we have to do is let any reference name, and it is an object type, and the floor brace is to initialize memory for it. And in the object memory, what you can store? In the object memory, we can store data and logic. Data is stored in the form of properties and logic is stored in the form of functions. That means, so data is stored in properties. And logic is defined using function. So how we can manage that? So that means how we can initialize, how to write the properties and functions. That means here data is stored in properties and logic in function. How we can define that? So syntax will be like this. So let, so here let name, it is an object and is equal to initialize memory for the object in this way. This is an object. That means we are just encapsulating. And here we need to define property. And the value should be assigned by using colon, what value you want to store. And multiple properties are separated with comma. And you have another property and you can define a property. So property contains data and logic. If you want to define, that means we have to define the logic as a function, and you have to define a functionality. You have to define a functionality. So what functionality you want? That means an object can contain collection of several properties. Data is stored in properties. And an object can contain several functions which are configured by using the function keyword, right? What are functions in OOP concepts we will discuss again. But here technically you should know that object is a collection of properties and functions. Data is stored in properties and functionality is configured in functions. So let's do that. So here I am defining the object. Product is an object. In that we have ID. ID. It is a number type. That means ID is a number type. That means we can store some value inside it. Just property and value, what value you want to store. And similarly, name, it is a string type, means in quotes. So some Samsung TV. And price, it is a number type. And we need to define like this. Another, so we have quantity, QTY is equal to 2, that is quantity. So this is data. So we have some data like ID, name, price, and quantity. Where we kept all this data. Data is stored in properties. These are called properties. So data is stored in properties. All these are the properties. Object comprises of properties where we can store the data. Actually, object is mentioned for related type of data. That means these all are related to product. Some related type of data you can keep in an object. Okay. Now, all the properties are separated with comma. We are separating with the commas. And here one more important is, here I am having a total. Total is not a property. It is a logic. Logic is defined as a function. Is a function. And function will have some functionality. Now what I want this total function to do is, I want this total function to return the quantity and the price. I want to return quantity into price. So you can write the functionality. Total should return the quantity into price. That means this function should able to access the members of the object. So here there are two important points you should know. Is after configuring an object, the members of any object are accessible within the object by using this keyword. The members of any object are accessible within the object by using this keyword. So the members are accessible outside object by using object name. That means there are 2 points here. The members of an object are accessible. They are accessible within the object by using this keyword.